So thanks everyone. Hopefully, y'all saw my post on Facebook and we'll be jumping on live to get to chat with Dr. Caroline Williams with Native Sun Nutrition. She is a fantastic functional medicine doctor, and just it's so fantastic to get to have her here on my Facebook channel every other Monday evening, and then we do hers on the opposite Mondays. But it's just a great opportunity for all of my friends and family to come on and ask Dr. Caroline questions. She is a wealth of knowledge. Normally we're always talking about this amazing light therapy technology that we have, which that's what we're passionate about. We're super excited about the new water technology that's coming out, so we'll be chatting with you about that tonight. But just type your questions for Dr. Caroline in the chat. She would love to answer them. So obviously anything you want to chat about, that's what's so amazing is you could ask any question you want. We're just going to kind of have a little conversation about our light technology that's coming out. This amazing, it's called X20. It'll be coming out in July. We don't have any dates released for sure yet, but it is light infused water, which I know that can sound totally crazy, but when you actually break it down and you look at the science, like every functionality in the body is started with light. That's how it works with the light and the water of our body and moving very, very quickly. So if you can move something and infuse something with light, it goes where your body needs it. Your body decides where it goes so quickly. And the studies and the test results that are coming back are truly phenomenal. So, Dr. Caroline, where would you like to take us with chatting about the light infused water?
Well, I'm in Las Vegas to see my patients here in person this week. Many times I'm working with people virtually, and and I saw for the first time in person one of my patients that I've been working with virtually for the last 9 months. And so it was great to see her in person. And, we were talking about this water unit that's getting ready to come out. I did mention it because I see so much chronic dehydration in my practice. It's just a really big driver of imbalance where people are concerned. And when you're chronically dehydrated, you have a multitude of symptoms associated with that, right? And so some of those things we were talking about because she just moved to the desert and she's used to being on the coast, and dry skin is a big contributor of that. And being in the environment certainly is part of that. But you do need to make sure that you're getting adequately hydrated when you're in an environment where the environment itself requires more hydration than you need to compensate where that's concerned, right? So we were just talking about, I mentioned to her, signs of dehydration, and I mentioned to her this new technology that's coming out where it's light infused structured water, and how incredible that is. And that's definitely going to be able to get hydration, your cells hydrated, because there's energy behind this water, right? So, and then we were talking about, we've been working together, like I said, for 9 months, and one of the big improvements that she's seen is that she used to always have high blood pressure for quite a while, and now it's not high at all. And so I was like, yeah, because of what we did really decreased the inflammation in your system. And so that's a lot of the reason that your blood pressure is normal now. And then that just took us back to the water, because what they've seen when you drink the water is as soon as you drink it, it reduces inflammation pretty instantaneously. And
Right.
so, right? So just think about how many diseases are inflammatory based. The
Hmm.
majority, the
Right.
majority is, yeah, especially developmental diseases, it's inflammatory based. And so it can just change so much within a person's system just to decrease inflammation.
Hmm.
Yeah. Mhm.
Huge. Are there really, I mean, are there very many people that probably don't have inflammation of some sort?
I think everybody has some degree of inflammation. That's what I was telling her. There's degrees of
Mhm.
inflammation. A lot of people don't know that they have inflammation because it's below their threshold of awareness,
Mhm.
right? And so they wouldn't even be consciously aware because they wouldn't be like in pain all day, or they wouldn't necessarily, have high blood pressure or those things associated with inflammation. But to some extent, at certain times, you do have inflammation because it would just be very difficult to go through the world and not be consuming something or not breathing something or drinking something that caused some degree of inflammation, right? Or even
Absolutely.
just, right, yeah, or even just stress itself can
Mhm.
cause, inflammation. We know that. So there are degrees of it for sure. And there are
Yeah,
times where we have more than other times, so
absolutely.
it
And
fluctuates.
and usually isn't it that like, if you're overweight, then you automatically have inflammation in your body?
Well, yeah, I mean, the inflammation can contribute to being overweight, actually, and being overweight. Like, if you're overweight, that just says to me that you're probably storing more toxins, and
Mm-hmm.
more toxins is definitely going to mean more inflammation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also being inflamed, you're going to be also carrying more weight because you'll carry more fluid.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be more water retentive, not in a good way, you know.
Right.
You'll be more water retentive as a result of being inflamed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what's amazing. The studies show on the water is that there were people burning up to 250 calories, more calorie burn. And the average was 1750 in their calorie burn with using the light infused water.
Wow, that's pretty
Uh-huh.
incredible.
Yes.
That's pretty
I'm like,
incredible.
and please sign me up for that.
Yeah,
I'll take an extra calorie
absolutely.
burn. Yes.
Right. I mean, if you think about that, like, when I was training, for many years, and let's just say helping somebody else lose weight, you just do the math, right? So a pound of body fat is like 3,500 calories. And so if you somehow can reduce 500 either by burning it or less consumption. So like let's just say you reduce your calorie intake by 250 and you're increasing your burning by 250, that's 500 calorie deficit a day. So that's a pound a week,
Ah,
right? That's
yes.
a pound of weight loss a week, right?
That
So
sounds
that's pretty
fantastic.
exciting. And that's like
Yes.
doable. I think that's
Yeah.
totally doable.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what would it be? Because it's reducing inflammation in the body, then it's allowing your cells and your metabolism to increase properly to an optimal level to allow you to burn that way. Is that how it would work?
I mean, in my opinion, I would more attribute it to, when you think about muscle mass and you think about activity level, um, your adequate hydration is really going to contribute to that. And as well as adrenal function. If you think about, because your metabolism is really influenced by thyroid function and adrenal function. And your hydration status has so much to do with normal muscle function as well as glandular health. Those obviously the thyroid gland and the adrenal gland um, really are they're actually a lot of those are made of fatty tissue. So they are very susceptible to toxicity for that reason. Um, but adequate hydration has such a big impact on those glands for that
Mm,
reason, right? Because anything that has a higher amount of fat, like let's just take the brain, the glands, those are very what we call hydrophilic, like I mentioned last on our last call. And so they're going to absorb water very, you
okay.
know what I'm saying? They're very
Mhm.
absorbent as far
And
as,
so that's why they also absorb toxins.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's the fatty areas of the body that are going to be most affected by the toxins for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and
Hmm.
that's then interesting too, because the studies showed that brain cognitivity increased and clarity increased as well with using the light infused water. So it goes completely along the lines of what you're talking about with the need for hydration and the ability to
Hmm.
hydrate an
Yeah.
organ.
Yeah. And you think about like flow of energy,
Hmm.
right? Like your cognitive function and your nervous system function is all about flow of energy, and
Mm-hmm.
water is about flow of energy. And you
Mm-hmm.
even think about like blood flow, right? Like
Right.
if you don't have flow, you're in trouble. That's where you're in trouble, is you something is not flowing well. And
Mm-hmm.
adequate hydration really affects that flow
Yeah.
in a
And so,
very
yeah,
real
because
way.
the studies are also showing improvements in blood flow as well.
Yes. Yes. Yes,
Mhm.
because water is all about flow,
Mhm.
right? So if you don't have adequate water, you will not have adequate flow.
Yeah.
You will not. So,
Yes.
yes. I mean, like, it's funny. I've joked about how my intuitive function and my cognitive function, but also the intuitive aspect is more online the more I'm in water and the more that I'm
Yeah.
hydrated, right? It's
Right.
it's like everything just flows like it should as far as my communication and my mind and everything just flows really well. If I'm
Yes.
in water or if I'm adequately hydrated, then I'm good. It
Yeah.
it doesn't when I'm not. It doesn't
Yes.
when I'm not, you
Yes.
know. So I would
Yes,
joke
which
about
makes
like,
sense because the stagnation that
mhm,
happens is where
right.
pain comes from, where inflammation comes from,
Mhm.
where problems,
Yeah,
areas that are unable, joints that don't move properly. There is
right.
stagnation that's happening there.
Exactly. Exactly. We're looking at arthritis as a problem with microcirculation, that's actually what contributes to arthritis. It's a microcirculation problem, right?
Wow.
And also in the brain too. There's a
Hmm.
microcirculation problem many times with, cognitive dysfunction. And so there are certain nutrition that can also
Hmm.
help with microcirculation. But yeah, if you're dehydrated, there's nothing to compensate for that.
Right. So
You just
yeah,
have to get that, yeah,
it's
figured out.
So the studies were also showing that the reduction in inflammation is especially reduced in any type of arthritic condition. So it
Mhm.
goes along to what you're saying about it being the problems with the microflow and it being the water and the energy
Mhm.
allowing that to then be
Yeah,
able to improve. For
right.
when you improve that from those angles, then it would make sense that the light infused water would allow
Mhm.
improvements in arthritic conditions.
Yeah, it makes total sense, right? And it's funny because like, reducing pain would certainly be a motivator for people to get hydrated, right? To get
Absolutely.
effectively hydrated. Improved cognitive function, like you said, clearer thinking, you think would be their reason as well. For me, like all those things are important too. Certainly the clarity of my skin, the hydration of my skin, really important to me. It reduces my allergy response that I
Mm,
sometimes have, especially where my hands are concerned. So that's huge for me. But I mean, something that's really important to me too, that might not be for so many others, is I'm just telling you, like when I'm in water or I'm adequately hydrated, my intuition is off the charts. And
mm,
so, that to me is really important because I feel like that is my access to truth
mhm.
more than, anything that I could access intellectually. The intuitive aspect is my compass,
Yeah.
right?
I can't wait to see what you notice once you start drinking the water. I can't
I
wait to hear your
know.
stories.
I can't wait either. I'm just like, wow, this will be interesting, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's all
That's
about flow, right? It's all about the
mhm.
flow. And
Yeah.
so, um, we've talked about this before, but our bodies are
Mm,
receivers of energy, and we're channeling ourselves, certainly. But we can also pick up information from others, right?
mhm.
And that's real, right? So like
Yeah.
even the
Mhm.
telepathy tapes and stuff like that, that is real.
Mm,
That's possible. They say that thought travels faster than the speed of light.
mm,
I was talking the other day with someone, and we were talking and discussing basically the understanding. Well, certainly, like a lot of people now talk about it as quantum entanglement, where when you're really connected with someone, if they feel pain, you'll feel pain,
mm,
right?
mhm.
If right, when you're really in, uh, I would say you're resonating at the same frequency.
Yeah.
That's
Hmm.
another way to explain it. If you're resonating at the same frequency as them, you're going to experience what they experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and just, having friends go through things with their kids or whatever, and how you feel that pain for your friend
Mhm.
and their family and all of those things. It's definitely a real,
Mhm.
expression of how you feel for them. Sure. The empathy for
Yeah,
sure.
sometimes it can manifest physically. Like I've certainly worked with people who had physical pain or issues, and I was helping them and I ended up with that pain myself.
Mm,
I can't necessarily say it was every person, every patient that
right.
I've ever worked with, but were certain times where that was the case. And I really just looked at that like, oh, okay, well, this will be easy for me to work on it for them in a sense. I'm working on
Yeah.
it within myself, right?
Yes.
To
Yeah.
help them. Yeah.
Yes. Oh
And
my
so,
goodness.
yeah.
So
So that's
how would
real. That can happen.
Yeah. So tell me, how would then like neuropathy then play a role in what we're talking about, with the water? Because obviously then, well, because it's a blood flow issue, right? Is that
Right.
what we're
And
dealing with? So,
an inflammatory issue. I will say sometimes neuropathy, because sometimes it's inflammatory. Well, there's always inflammation there, but
mm-hmm,
how long the inflammation has been there and affected the myelin sheath can also be a factor.
mm-hmm,
So if it's hasn't destroyed a lot of the myelin sheath, you know, whatever's caused the inflammation, then just drinking the water in and of itself would probably resolve some of what they were feeling because it's resolving the inflammation and promoting flow of energy.
mm-hmm,
But if the myelin sheath has been destroyed, then, that's a consideration and that would need to be repaired
mm-hmm,
for a nerve connection to come back. And that, in my opinion, that can be done,
mm-hmm.
you know.
How does that happen? How are you able to repair the myelin sheath?
I mean, obviously you've got to give the body what it needs, right,
Mm-hmm.
for the body to do that. But in my opinion, it can be done. Um, cholesterol is a big part of that. It's interesting because, a lot of people who suffer from neuropathy may be on cholesterol lowering drugs,
Oh,
and
interesting.
that could be right. Yeah, that could be a
Mhm.
contributing factor as to, why the neuropathy developed because the body didn't have what it needed to create the myelin sheath. You need
Mm.
cholesterol for that. So there's that's been known to cause neuropathy.
Which, like, think
Um,
about that for a second. How important is it for someone considering going on a statin to lower their cholesterol to know that it could break down their myelin sheath, which is like the protective layer of the cells, and even like everything in your brain has to do
mhm,
with myelin sheath protection. Am
mhm.
I correct in saying, okay, yeah,
Well, it's an insulator, right, of the
yeah.
nervous system. So it has everything to do with nerve conduction, right?
Mhm.
So, you're not able to effectively conduct energy through the nervous system if you're missing that insulator,
Yeah,
that's why there's
yeah.
a problem, and so you need cholesterol to make that myelin sheath,
Mhm.
right? So if you're taking something that is inhibiting your production of cholesterol, then that's, oh gosh, who messed up? Sorry. My my dog hit the button and then it went down and I couldn't see anything. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good.
He was trying to get my
Um,
attention.
that is
Um,
funny.
so yeah, so But I mean, they do put that on. I mean, there is a disclaimer about that
Sure, I'm sure
with
it's
the
on the,
statins.
yeah, I'm sure it's
Yeah.
on as one of the side effects or something, but
Mhm.
it's one of those where you think, okay, like we probably should talk through these things that are probably, especially if you stay on them for a really long time, like almost a guarantee, a
Yeah.
breakdown of your myelin sheath.
Yeah.
So,
I've had people come to me and they had not just neuropathy, but also cognitive dysfunction and they got checked out and then the person, then of course it's showing, problems with their myelin, right? And the brain,
mm,
and not just, in terms of, their limbs, but also in their brain.
mm,
And the very first thing I ask is, do you take a statin? And one person came
interesting.
in to see me and yeah, he had taken a statin for 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, well, when they did your diagnostics, did they tell you or ask you about that and tell you that that could have something to do with this? And he said no.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just not, it's one of those where, well, we all need to be our own best advocate and our
for sure.
own doctor to some extent from the standpoint of we are in charge of our health. We have to
Yes.
take ownership of our own
Yes.
health and
Yes.
not just let everyone write us a prescription,
Right.
and just do what someone else is telling us. We need
Right.
to take responsibility for our own health so we actually know what's going on and read all the fine print. Read
Yeah.
all the fine print.
Yeah, and just really, like you said, like know, maybe get multiple opinions, maybe know what your
Yes.
options are. There's
Right.
going to be, it's funny, I was talking to a patient today exactly about that because we were talking about like I said, she was sharing with me like, yeah, I worked with another functional medicine doctor and never got these results, but with you, like I've had such amazing results and like I had high blood pressure and now I don't have high blood pressure at all, like ever. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, because what
Mhm.
we did was reduce inflammation in your whole system. I mean, we did a lot of things, but that's
Right.
ultimately why you don't have high blood pressure anymore. And so we were talking about these things, and she was just like, kind of like, it matters who you work with. And I gave her credit for being just such an amazing patient because she did everything the way I,
Absolutely.
right?
Exactly.
Like, and I was talking to somebody else today on a discovery call follow up, and I said, he was like, well, I believe what you're saying. I feel like, comfortable investing potentially in this. And I was just like, I'm not the deciding factor if this works or not. You are. You
Right.
are the one that's really the deciding factor. And, I'm really just, my goal is to empower you with
Hmm.
what you just said. It's all about empowering people so
Right.
that they're educated, they're informed, that they know what's going on, that they can make informed, educated decisions, so that they know how to support themselves. And not just when you're working with them, but like even when they're not with you,
Right.
right? It's all about
Absolutely.
empowerment. And so that's
Right.
really what we want to do. We don't want to create necessarily dependency. We want
Right.
to empower. And so, yeah, but people are going to see different things based on their level of awareness. And so not everybody, you know, I have plenty of people that believe that if their blood work looks fine and normal, and their one doctor said it's normal, that every doctor is going to have the same opinion about that. But that is not accurate. It's based
No.
on the individual's perception about what they're looking at. So let's just go back to what we were talking about the cholesterol thing. Um, you can have elevated cholesterol because you have a low thyroid. That
Mm,
doesn't mean that you need to go on cholesterol medication. It makes sense that we would work on the thyroid,
yeah.
right? You
Absolutely.
can also have high cholesterol because you have liver dysfunction,
Mm,
right? And I've said that to people and they're like, well, my liver enzymes were fine. That's an advanced stage. You can have liver dysfunction and your liver enzymes be fine because it's not advanced to the point where your liver enzymes would be high,
wow.
right? But
Mm,
you can have gallbladder and liver dysfunction and that still be look within range,
yeah.
right?
Wow.
And that goes back to the other thing from last week I was talking about with the impaired digestion. that goes back to that, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, so a lot of people just don't necessarily know that you really want to get other opinions
Right.
from other practitioners before you go on maybe a medication that you maybe don't even need,
Right.
that could lead to other problems over time,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
know?
I always tell people if they're, very, their norm is allopathic medicine, like please just go get a functional medicine doctor to give you some information
Mhm.
because the even just the knowledge and the information that's going to come from a functional medicine doctor like you looking at all the information that they have is going to give them a whole nother picture and
Yes.
and viewpoint
Mhm.
to look at the information they have in front of us
Mhm.
that if they don't seek out that kind of information, they're probably not just going to find it on their own, especially if that has not been their normal choice in care.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, because I was talking about that today too, about saying, like the allopathic paradigm and the conventional medical model, there is a place that where that belongs, and it is in emergency medicine. I mean, like
Mhm.
when their tools, which are drugs and surgery, shine in those situations, right? That's where
Mhm.
you really need those tools. But not everybody needs drugs and surgery to solve their problems.
Right.
Not
Right.
everybody needs that,
Yeah.
but that's the way that it's set up within our
Mhm.
system. And
Right.
so that is why it's good to get other opinions because you don't necessarily always need to go to extremes. And if anything, if you go and for a chronic issue and you're being evaluated from that perspective of, well, what kind of drug or surgery can I give you? You're probably not dealing with the underlying reason why you have the issue, number one. And number two, you're probably going to end up being dependent
Mm.
because you're not dealing with the underlying issue. And
Right.
then it's going to cause another problem.
Yes.
I mean, the longer that you take it, it will lead to other issues. And so, yeah, I think it's just, you would choose how you want to approach things based on what kind of result are you looking for,
Mm.
right? Are you
Right.
looking, like you mentioned before, are you looking to be healthy and be free and independent as a result? Because that's where your freedom is in health, and it's in your health.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yes.
yeah. People who are healthy are not dependent. Right? They're
Right. Yeah,
independent, right?
yes, you're able to have choices. You're able to make
Yeah,
choices in life of how to
options,
spend your time, how
options.
to spend your energy.
Yeah,
Yes.
you can just do
So,
more. You can do
yeah,
more, right? Yeah.
absolutely. Hmm.
So, yes, I mean, you can even make more money,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes,
Because if you're
absolutely.
sick, there's limitations on what you can do to make money,
Yes,
you know?
absolutely.
So your health is, yeah, so
Hmm.
important, right?
Yeah,
So I feel
yeah,
like it's worth getting other opinions.
absolutely.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that depending on the situation, you're just working with a functional medicine doctor.
Right.
It could be an integrative type of situation, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
But I
Yeah.
think it's just good to go to somebody that you feel like you can trust, that knows what they're talking about, that can help
Hmm.
empower you and
Right.
help you get to a state of balance, which that's what health is. It's a state of
Yes.
balance within yourself
Hmm.
and can set you up for success where that's concerned, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And mhm. And
Yes. I think, go
yeah.
ahead.
Oh, we're at time, right? We're
We
at
are. We just went through it. It was fantastic. We went through it so fast. Yes.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
do
But
want to
thank
just say
you.
something really
Yeah.
quick. Because obviously us talking is about this technology and about this technology company. Um, that this technology and what this company makes are tools for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like we were talking about tools for allopathic conventional medical doctors, MDs.
Hmm.
Their tools are drugs and surgery.
Right.
My tools are nutrition, herbs, lifestyle changes, this technology. Um, yeah. those are my tools. And they're just very different.
Yes, very different. Yes,
They're
and they
very
lead to
different.
very different outcomes,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
long-term outcomes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, for
And
your
again, it
health,
just
for your longevity. Yes.
absolutely. And
Mhm.
it just all goes back to that freedom piece too.
Yeah.
I mean, how you want to live your life and, what you value, what you
Mhm.
value. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank
So
you so
anyway,
much for being
yeah.
on here. Yes, so
Thank
appreciate you.
you.
Everyone,
Yes.
please go follow Dr. Caroline, her Native Son Nutrition Facebook page, and she has a website and her Instagram. Of course, this is my personal Facebook page, but my business is Embrace Optimal Health. And you can find me on Facebook as well as Instagram. But thank you so much for being on here. We're super excited about the light technology that's going to be launched in July. We'll probably
Yes.
be talking about it
A
every
lot.
Monday until we get it. We get it. It gets launched because it's just so exciting. But we'll be on Dr. Caroline's channel next Monday night. So everybody, come on, ask your questions, get 30 minutes with the doctor. So it's always a good thing. So anyway, thank you so much, Dr. Caroline. Really
Thank you,
appreciate
Miss
you being here
Nikki.
tonight. Yes,
Yes. Thanks for
absolutely.
having me.
Yeah. Good night, everyone.
Night.